are watching this in the future, we do these on a semi-regular basis just to try and give you guys some in real time information. We share ideas and I get a chance to address a whole bunch of questions that can come up in the comments. Now, the other thing is I am running off Australian internet, which is not great. So this stream may have a whole bunch of problems, and if it does, I will try to address them. If I do not, if I am not able to address them, then I shan't, and we shall have to kill the stream. Anyway, what are we doing tonight? I have got a small batch of Militable concentrates. Woo, it's been a day. I've got a small batch of dry blower concentrates that we're going to run through the Militable. So these are my two new pieces of equipment. Mick, who you may have seen on my channel multiple times before, and I went Harveys in the dry blower, or a dry washer, depending on where you are, and they are rather expensive, so that's why we went Harveys. Good option, because it unlocked all of the gold fields. It's the most amazing machine ever. So if you don't know what a dry washer is, normally a prospector would use water in a sluice or a pan to separate heavy gold from all the other material in the creek, such as the river gravels and rocks and stones. Well, a lot of Australia and a lot of other parts of the world do not have enough fresh water to do that process, and so dry washing was invented. I believe it was invented here in Australia. I could be wrong with that, but the point is, this machine uses vibration, static electricity, and air to separate all the rock and the gold. And we have one of the most advanced machines on the market today, and it is exceptional at catching very fine gold, which has traditionally been the dry washer's crux. It's usually lost. Most of the designs preceding this particular unit, or these units that are available today, lost all of your fine gold. And now we're seeing, in our machine anyway, a high retention rate of fine gold, and that's exactly what we've got to clean up today. So this is actually from Mick and I's first run. I haven't cleaned it up yet because I was going to make a little video on it, but I thought it might be a good idea just to share this whole process through a live stream. So our concentrates have come from a dry washer. We know there's gold in the concentrates. I'm going to flip the camera around. I'm going to show you a Militable. Now the Militable is think of it as a tiny sluice box used to separate the gold from your super heavy concentrates. Now, if I can figure out how to press these buttons, there's that one. Here it is. I'm actually going to take you out of the tripod for just a second. So first of all, this is our dry washer concentrates that I have classified down to 30 mesh. So all of these pieces of sand in here are 1/30th of an inch. We have our plus size material over here, and this is all our big concentrates. I just want to show people straight off the bat, this is a magnet, and we've got one tiny piece of limestone we'll put back into the concentrates. I'm just going to show you why I can't use a magnet. The heavies that I have to separate the gold from are tin or cassiterite, which is tin ore, and they are non-magnetic. So even if I run a magnet over it, we got one piece of ironstone. That is why I have to use something like this, which is a Militable. Now a Militable, like I said before, is nothing more than a tiny sluice box. I will put you back on the tripod, just because then I can do some pointing with both hands. Very professional of me. I'll even try and get it level for you. Right, so this is a Militable, and what it is a sheet of plastic that is rather smooth. It has just the slightest texture. Imagine a super fine grit sandpaper texture on this bed. And under here we have a piece of miner's moss, which regulates the control of water to come out of this slot in an extremely slow and level sheet of water, which I'll show you in a second. And what we're using is the same principle as sluicing, but because we don't have any riffles, we're just relying on the friction between this bed and the heavy density of the gold to keep it on this bed. and the water washes away everything else. Nothing else that we put on this will be heavy enough to actually sit there. I'm going to turn that thing on and actually show you the water coming out, and I'll show you how we get the water to spread evenly over the bed, because it is such a thin layer of water, you have to kind of manipulate it a little bit. That is that the right one? That is not the right one. There we go. We have liftoff. As you can see, we've got gaps. So we want water over this whole bed, and we use a paintbrush and we stick it up near the miner's moss, and you make little strokes and down it comes. Now this has been leveled, and it took me a little while to figure out the pitch. So this is on, it can go a maximum of a 5-degree pitch. This is on about 3.5 degrees of angle, and that seems to be just perfect for Reedy Creek tin and gold. So the gold is super flat, and we have got some round rolly bits, and when they hit the water they can grab the surface tension. So I had to fiddle around a little bit with that angle to make sure that I kept the majority of that really flat gold right up the top. The only other downside to this particular unit is that it doesn't actually have a hole up here where you could screw in a little container. I had one floating around here before, something like this. Normally you would have one of these containers that would screw into a hole underneath your bed, and you'd be able to brush your gold into it. But in this case, I actually have to use a little gold claw pan, because it doesn't have one. So I put that at the end and I can brush my gold into it. I will be modifying that in the very near future. On that note, what is in the gold claw, which you hopefully will be able to see just there, is some gold. So this gold was the first little run I did of some of these concentrates. I did a few spoonfuls, and that's the gold we got out of it. So we're going to do a few more spoonfuls, and we should see a whole bunch more gold. Rightio. So that's the principle of a Miller table, and we're going to get right to it. So this here, I've got a little bit of water with some jet dry in it, and we're going to add it to the cons because I don't want to put this in. I don't want to put this in dry, otherwise we will have gold floating down the end of the Miller table, and that is not ideal. I will even move you a little bit closer, guys. I can't read the comments at all, so I'm assuming that there are people commenting. Unfortunately, I cannot read them at these angles. Okay, there we go. So now you have a bit of a view. Here we go. You'll see how quickly this actually works. There's a few modifications I could do in terms of putting something that vibrates in the table that would make this process a lot quicker, but I don't necessarily need it. And I found that you can actually put about 3 teaspoons of dense cons, or I could probably get this whole pan on, because there's not going to be that much black sand in that. The dry blowers don't tend to collect the fine black sand, which is really good. It's super handy. Look how quickly it just takes it away. If you've seen any of my live stream cleanup videos where I use a pan, you'll know how long it takes me to do this by pan. This is so much faster. So we've got one little flat bit of gold just here that wants to move. So just keep an eye on that bit there if you can see it on camera. Hardly any black sand at all. Look at that gold coming out. Bam. Woo. Hey, there's a little chunky bit. Yeah. All right. So when you have really dense, look at that gold. When you have really dense black sands on these Miller tables, you have to agitate it with a brush. I don't have that issue at the moment, so all I have to do is just very gently touch near the gold, and you see the black sand come away. So see this black sand just here? If I touch it with the brush, you should start seeing it move down the board. And this is where some sort of vibrating unit underneath the table would make this a lot easier. Right, so we had a few little escapees that got about halfway down the board. So we just bring them up with their mates. This is where that little jar comes in handy, because if we had that little jar, I wouldn't have to push it over here and then push it down the end, which is very annoying. So that was the minus 30 mesh. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do. I did a massive cleanup of this, the 1.5 gram video that I released not too long ago. Why won't you move? There we go. Haha, made you move. The 1.5 gram video, I had a lot of concentrates to clean up, and I did that in about 45 minutes. It was super quick, and I'm very, very happy with this purchase. All right. So you can never get the last little bit out of your pan. It's kind of annoying. Look at the gold. Ooh, mama. Easy as, bro. Look at that. This was from a pretty small run too. Well, I won't say small. We were just exploring. We have the ability now to process dry dirt anywhere, and that's what we've been doing. And we're finding gold everywhere. Look how fine some of that gold is. Super nice. It's just twinkle twinkle little star all over it. Right, we're gonna get this we're gonna get the gold claw pan at the bottom. I'm not going to adjust the camera, guys. I'm just literally going to sweep this stuff straight in, and then we will run the big stuff, see if we got any chunky bits. So like I said, very annoying that I have to do this. One of the first modifications I'm doing is going to be drilling a hole in the bed and adding in that little cup, so I don't have to do this. It means you can collect your gold as you clean. Far more efficient, a lot safer. You don't have to worry about surface tension grabbing your gold. That's probably the one downfall with the Miller table, is that there is no safety net. There's nothing to stop your gold from just going straight into your tailings if it catches the surface tension. I mean, it's only in your tailings, so you can always rerun that, but I'd rather not have to. And for those of you who would be interested what my thoughts are on this versus the blue ball, this wins hands down. The blue ball is super finicky. They work, they definitely work, but they are really temperamental. And the problem I have had with them is that if you don't watch them with at least my concentrates, then either it won't clean your gold because you lose too much momentum, the tin causes too much friction, or it strips away so much stuff that it catches the fine flat gold and sucks it up the cone. Some people tell me that, you know, you won't lose fine gold up the cone. I tell you what, you do. You definitely do. I've got it on slow motion doing it. This is a real pain. But anyway, nothing Spud Engineering can't fix with a drill and a bidding tool, which I'm sure I can convince Mick to come around at some point possibly and show me how to use one. So I don't stuff my Miller table up after I just got it. Alright, that's pretty much all the really fine gold. Alright, yep, good, 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 good. Here we go. That is the gold we just recovered. Not too shabby. We're going to do literally the same exact thing with the oversized. I could easily pan the oversized down in probably a minute, but we've got the Miller table, so we're going to use it. I'm not even going to spoon feed this on because there's no black sand in it. What we're going to do is we're just going to tip it on with our squirt bottle here. We can overload the bed, we're allowed to. We're professionals. I've got no water. I don't have any water in the squirt bottle. Professionals. That's great. That's what I said. Alright, now we will need to agitate. This is way overloaded. I'm still going to show you how efficient this thing is. Like any gold at this size is literally just going to sit on the bed. It shouldn't go very far at all unless it's super, super flat and catches the surface tension. There's a couple pieces over there. That's good. Right there, there's 2 pieces. There's a little piece I didn't collect before. So all we've got to do is touch this stuff and it will just peel away. Seriously, if you're dealing with black sands and you need a method of cleaning gold, this is it. This is the one you should be getting. Having now tried pretty much every type. I've got the cleanup mats from Gold Rat and they work really well, but they're more finicky than this. I feel like this is good. If I had microcell on the bottom half of this from Dream Mat, I think this would be an absolute winner, because then I wouldn't even worry about the surface tension stuff. I wouldn't mind just sweeping my gold into the cells at the bottom. We're getting a little bit of fine gold coming out with this too, and that would just be because this was a dry washer, and so the concentrates themselves, like these oversized concentrates, were dusty. They didn't get washed through a sluice after all, and therefore you end up with fine gold stuck to those small rocks. Alright, so there we go. That is what we got out of the oversized. Not heaps. Not heaps. We've got 2 big bits, and you're probably not going to be able to see them on camera. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 little fly poops. They honestly probably are like minus 100 mesh pieces too. So I put them into that. Now I am going to show you what it looks like when you dump a teaspoon of heavy black sand onto this stuff. Let me just grab my teaspoon of heavy black sand. So first of all, I'm just going to put the bottom of that one on there. Wet the teaspoon. Okay, this is concentrates. This is serious concentrates here. There's good gold in it, but also a lot of black sand. Not like what you just saw. What we just ran, I'd give like a 2 out of 10 for difficulty. This, you got shotgun pellet, bit of lead. Look at all the black sands, and it's unclassified too. But you can still see how fast it strips it away. So there's more black sand in this than probably what we got in that entire run. See how that shotgun pellet just sits there? And it's round, right? There we go. We got it moving. Bits of ironstone too. And look how efficient this thing is at getting rid of black sand. No work at all, you just touch it. Unreal. I mean, you can get your gold 100% clean doing this. Like, even as you sweep the gold over into a little pile, it gets rid of more black sand that was sitting in amongst it. It's brilliant. I love this thing. Absolutely love it. Look at that. How easy was that? And like I said, that stuff I just put in there, I would honestly rate it a 9 out of 10 difficulty in panning. If I had to sit here and pan it to clean it up, it would take me a long time per teaspoon. Probably 4 or 5 times the length you just saw then for me to get that down to the same level of cleanliness. The best thing is, even if there is a little bit of black sand, at the end you just dump all your gold back on the miller table and get rid of all the bits that you collected along the way. So there you go. That's our gold for tonight. That was a little dry blowing session that Mick and I did, and man, we have unlocked the gold fields. This is just from erosion gutters, just from where the water's been washing a hillside away. Unbelievable. Oh, yeah, I'll flip you guys back around Don't mind me adjusting my tripod either. And we'll open it up for a little bit of a Q&A if you guys would like to do that. Oh yeah, we have got comments. Oh, better turn it off. Otherwise, it's going to make everyone want to need to pee. I don't know if you guys can hear the dripping noise it makes, but it makes this like water. I call it my indoor water feature. This thing is awesome. I love it. It is by far. I'm tossing up whether the Miller table or the dry washer is my newest favorite piece of equipment. I don't know. I don't know which one. They're both pretty freaking good because the dry washer, there are areas I've had my eyes on now for about 5 or 6 years, and we're finally taking it to those locations and we're finding gold. We're finding mad gold. Like, it's so good. And the flip side of that is that being able to take those concentrates home and actually clean them up in a reasonable amount of time has been fantastic as well. So, yeah. So that's that. There's lots more content coming out regarding both the dry washer and the Miller table. I've just obviously, the edits now take me a long time, like a long time. And I want to bring you more, but I also don't want to publish crap. So, rookie gold prospector, what's going on? I'm headed out to the creek in an hour. Good luck out there, bro. Danny, that's a bit of a personal question. That's like saying, how much money do you make a year? I get that question a lot. I get it a lot, but I don't answer it. I sell a lot every year because I do live partially off the gold. I also live off YouTube. So making the videos and the ads that overlay onto the videos, I make a percentage out of that. But I also sell a lot of my gold just to have, pay my mortgage and pay all that sort of stuff. So yeah. If you have got questions, now is the perfect time to ask them. I'm having an adult Coke tonight. That's Coke. I swear, YouTube. West Africa. Man, we got people from all over the joint. That's awesome. What's going on? Yeah, Trev, no, I literally bought this chair for doing this because I spent so much time sat filming and whatnot in front of these tables. I couldn't do it like a normal crappy chair anymore. What's your favorite snack? Iced coffee. Backyard prospecting. Iced coffee is by far my favorite snack while out prospecting. Oh, Debbie! I'll be right back. Get my stomach holder. You're a smart woman, Debbie. You're a very, very smart woman. Now I'm definitely having a Coca-Cola. YouTube, don't demonetize my videos, Coke. Weekend Warrior Prospector. Yeah, bro. I love your name because I know this backstory to that. I freaking love it. But yes and no. So my pay dirt, oh man, my pay dirt. I just don't have the mental or physical capacity to do it on any scale. So I am, but I'm doing them in super limited runs. I really prefer to sell them in person, mostly because it cuts out a lot of the stress for me. It takes like, so I was doing 100, I'll start from the beginning, Chris. I was doing 100 bag runs of pay dirt, and it was taking me almost 4 days to pack it. So it was like a full day to make the pay dirt, 2 full days to package and address the pay dirt, and then another like finishing up stuff in terms of sending the pay dirt and replying to lost bags and things like that would come along. So it was like 4 days for 100 bags. And man, I'd much rather be out there making videos and digging. I'd much rather be doing that. So that's what's happening with the pay dirt. I am making it. It's going to come up sporadically, randomly. So yeah, just keep an eye out. I might send some internationally. I don't know. Yes, bro. So BFK 1970. Am I ever tempted to cut and polish gems? Absolutely. Mick's wife Jess, because she's just a legend, bought Mick a tumbler for Christmas. Man, the rocks that Mick is coming out with now is just so yes. Like after seeing what he's producing with his tumbler, it's unfreaking real, and I want a piece of that action. And I'm thinking, yeah, I've got a few projects in the works. I'm coming up with a new brand. I've come up with a brand that is going to deal specifically in things like, not that this looks like much at the moment, but things like this that we find on the creek, and we're turning them into some items and stuff. It's complicated. I don't really want to go into it right at this stage, but yes, so we are going to be dealing in crystals and gemstones and some other precious materials, and we're going to be doing stuff with them, and you'll be able to buy them. So, yeah. Bojan, buy a small coil from Minelab Nox 800. Try it on prospecting. Bro, you should. It's a good little coil from what I've heard. I haven't personally used one. I've had no need to. I've got like a macro gold cruiser and a gold monster. I don't have an 800. So buying that small coil is going to allow you better target identification because there's less minerals under the coil. If you go out to the gold fields, the bigger your coil, the more mineralization in the ground it has to handle, and you get false signals. Therefore, smaller targets don't stand out as well. A small coil helps alleviate some of that problem because you don't have such a big surface area, and it's a lot easier to pinpoint with one of those little coils as well. Comments fly by for me too, guys. I do apologize. And if the stream quality goes terrible, it's just because I'm on my phone and my phone's terrible. I saw one up here. I just wanted to go. I was just catching up on some comments there because they went really quick there for a second. What about instead of paid at sales grams or half grams and bottled of gold? I prefer not to. So if from a purely business standpoint, I'd lose so much money doing that. I could sell, so say for instance, if people were willing to pay me 24 carat price, most of the gold in my area comes out between 22 and 24 carat. It is very, very pure gold in my area. But if I sold you like a half gram, even at 24 carat, I lose out because I've had to still buy jars and package it and send it, and I also have to dig it out of the ground and blah, 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 blah. Pay dirt for me was always about giving people an experience. And what that allowed me to do at the same time was recoup the costs it actually took to get out of the ground. So my profit margins on pay dirt were extraordinarily small. I was selling $30 jars, and I was making between $5 and $7 just depending on postage. And I was charging for postage, but because of the way Australia Post works, it was always stuffed up. So I just don't have the financial incentive to do it. So a pay dirt jar, a $30 jar, I would be making $5 to $7 on it, which is not a lot. And again, at 100 bags, that's like $700, but for 4 full days of work where I could be going out and making videos and content and whatnot, and I'd much rather focus on that. So it's just not, the incentive isn't there, especially because I wanted to give that experience. I wanted people to be able to have a jar of pay dirt that they were able to pan off at home and feel the same exact thing that I was getting out on the creek, or what you see me doing here on my cleanup videos. And that's what I wanted to give. That's where the drive for me came from. It was not the financial side of it. And I don't feel like selling a little jar of gold is all that great. I don't think that gives the same experience. We will buy it at a premium. Oh yeah, but then I feel guilty. Height of the dark side of the world. Yeah, it is. It's nice. Like probably 9:20, something like that. Over here at the moment. Be just getting morning over there. Make a pay dirt kit, the Vo-Gus pan in a can. Man, I would love to do it if I had, oh man, I need an investor. That's what I need. I really need an investor. Because I've got so many ideas that I'd love to do with that sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't. I need someone to financially back it so I can set everything up. But Unfortunately, I don't think I'm that big yet. Did you get the quartz I sent? Uh, was refresh my memory. What else did you send it with? That's the question I need you to. That's the question I need you to answer because I've received a fair bit of quartz at the moment, bro. Bojan, yes, I did see the new macro legend. It actually looks pretty good. It could. I don't think it will be an Equinox killer. Minelab's too big, too powerful, and too strong. But at that price point, with the gear it comes, if it's even like 3/4 as good as an Equinox, it's a hot competitor. And I'm super keen to actually give one a go just to see what it's like. Because I don't mind Nocta macro. That's what I started detecting with was a macro racer 2. Yeah, Trev. Sponsor like Miller with cheese, absolutely, buddy. They could back some pay dirt production, right? Scott, I was thinking about taping another adult product to the table because they're pretty cheap and they're waterproof. So first of all, mate, it's not a cleanup sluice. What was your name? Paul. It's not a cleanup sluice. It's a Miller table, so it works like a sluice, but it's not a sluice, and that's why I love it because it does work like one. It's a Miller table. I got mine from Reed's Prospecting. I buy most of my gear through Reed's Prospecting. Not only have they had like amazing customer service, but they've also been a huge supporter of my channel for like a long while now, and I appreciate everything not only that they've done for me, but also my subscribers that have gone through and bought stuff off them. They've been absolutely fantastic, so I cannot speak highly enough of them. In fact, they've actually sent me some prize packs from Minelab to give away, and I'm going to be organizing that on probably the very next live stream. I was just literally sorting them all out tonight. There we go. Varg? I'm going to go with Varg. Yeah, man, I've prospected in Canada. I've got a whole series where I was out with Pioneer Paulie prospecting with him, so that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. Marcus, so I'm not even going to concentrate on the question specifically because I can answer this more broadly. Is there any loss of the Miller table? Yes, every single system loses gold. Doesn't matter what you buy. Does not matter what you buy. I don't care what you say because I've had the opportunity to test most of the stuff and they all lose gold. They literally all lose it. It's kind of like editing. I get talked to a lot about like what program I use and what camera I shoot on. Man, some of the greatest movies of all time were made with a pair of scissors and sticky tape, literally cutting film together. And if you can make a world-renowned, world-class film with sticky tape, then it's the same as loose boxes. Today, pretty much all equipment is equal. Like all equipment is equal. There's a few gimmick pans out there. I would say that, and even those still work. There's nothing wrong with them, but at the end of the day, they all work about the same. And I don't think it's worth concentrating too much on the loss at this point. It all comes down to your skill. If you're not putting in the effort to learn your machine and tune it, like what we are doing with the dry washer and the Miller table at the moment, to learn it and be absolutely completely willing to lose all the gold because it doesn't matter, then that's what we do. We do that because at the end of the day, the lesson is more important. If I lost 100% of the gold out of the Miller table, I'd just pick it up and reset the angles and reset the water flow and then run it again and see what happens. And it's the same with all your sluices and whatnot. So yes, there is loss, but everything loses gold. It loses a small percentage and you don't really need to worry about it too much. There we go. Stupid comments keep popping in and out. Bama Gold. What's my favorite gold hog mat? I don't have one, man. I don't have one. I've never. I got the multi-sluice, and that came with two mats. I don't know what the mats are called, but the aggressive one's pretty good. I don't like the fine profile one. Sean, I don't know. Let's debate. Let's debate about that. Sean Owens, the next gold rush is in figuring out how to prevent gold loss. Is it? Is it? From like, if you're talking about preventing gold loss from the technology they had, say, up until the 1980s, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, 80s. Then perhaps. But today's mining techniques are really good. There's dudes running cyanide leaches through tailings piles and pulling out hundreds of ounces of gold. So there's pretty much zero loss in that. I think we've reached that peak. I think now it's more about finding mineable ground, and that's only going to change as the gold price changes. As the gold price gets bigger and the techniques that we use become more refined. And when I say that, I mean the knowledge behind how to extract that really hard to get gold becomes more available. We're going to find more and more workable gold fields. There's a few gold mines in my area that have opened up recently because suddenly mines that weren't profitable for the last 100 years are profitable again because of the price. ECK, yeah, gold price is going to go up, man. It's going to go up, way up. I was expecting it to hit around 3,000 an ounce at the end of last year. It didn't quite make it, and then it dropped back, but it's still at 2,500 an ounce Australian at the moment. And I could reasonably see in the next 3 or 4 years, maybe the gold price reaching $4,500, depending on what happens with the world's economies. I honestly, I think it's going to go up. I think it's going to go up a lot. And in the future, maybe 10 years, it's hard to predict this stuff, right? Anyone who says they know is lying. I don't know, but I can see in the medium term future, gold prices approaching 10 grand, and that's only per ounce because places like China and Russia and whatnot have been accumulating large quantities of gold now for quite a while. And yeah, there's a lot of foot. If you start reading about, there's a really good book called Gold. It's just literally called Gold. I wish I could remember who it was written by. It's an Australian author, and that lays it out very clearly. It's worth reading. There's a little bit of finance mumbo jumbo in it, but if you're interested in knowing kind of where and why the gold price might be going up, that's a book to look into. Merry one year to you, sir. Yeah, Lewis, welcome to the stream, buddy. Patrick, investing in how to put this politely, I suppose, the investing in specific mining companies or stocks of gold is fraught with danger because they're really highly leveraged. So on the stock exchange, if you buy gold bonds, they're leveraged about 1,000 to 1, if not more at the moment. And that means that if things go tits up on the stock market, only 1 in 1,000 investors has access to the actual physical gold that's held within a vault. I would suggest that buying physical gold is a much safer investment in the long term because you actually have hold of it. Ever played around with Merc? I've played with it. I've not done anything with gold with it. I've just played with it. That's it. This is probably a good point for me to actually say something about liking the video too. Maybe share. My goal for my payday bags will be worth something one day. They will be, Debbie. We were talking about this the other day. So if the world economy is reset, this is, oh God, this is so complicated. I'm just trying to pick out little bits of it. So we used to be on a gold standard. Pre-World War One, we were on a gold standard. World War One went through, and then they had to refloat the currencies after the war, and they refloated it at the wrong mark, meaning that they ended up with hyperinflation, and then we had the 29 stock market crash. That's it in really layman's terms. So there's different categories of floating a gold standard. And for a long time now, we've been on what's called fiat finance or fiat money. Fiat money is not real, it's just for digital, it's not backed by anything. So when you float a gold standard currency, you have to figure out how much money is in the economy and then relate it to how much gold you have tucked away in a vault. And if you get that wrong, you get hyperinflation, right? So now we have trillions of dollars in economies, and that means that something like an ounce of gold could theoretically be worth anywhere up to like 50 or 60,000 Australian dollars if they refloated the gold standard today. So this is all hypothetical, big what if. But if that was the case, if it was like $50,000 for an ounce of gold, that means every gram of gold would be worth like $2,000. I mean, your milk would also be worth probably like $500. But the point is that the tiny little amount of gold you dig out of the ground today could be worth so much more. They were mining in my area hard rock mines that were going 5.5 to 6.5 ounces per ton, and they were getting 4.5 pounds per ounce. So that's not a lot of money by today's standards. Now that same ounce is worth $2,500. So you don't know, in like 20 years, the little tiny bit of gold that you've accumulated on the creek and stuck away in your cupboard could be worth 20 or 30 grand. My son will be rich on my 5G, exactly. Yeah, see, ECK, I am all about the physical. I'll be honest. Like, yeah, sure. I know. Like Clash, Shane is into crypto and all that sort of stuff, and I've dabbled in stocks and a tiny bit of crypto. But at the end of the day, I'd much rather have the skills in like growing a veggie garden and going out to hunt and doing stuff like that, because NFTs and that ain't real. It's just not. Like, it's that simple. We've gone way off course, eh? We're not talking about gold anymore. Rare Aussie, see you, buddy. Ooh, what's the best carat precious stone I've found so far? 1.5 carat sapphire, but it's trash. It's broken. It's not clear. It's just, yeah. I've never found anything. I've never found anything of real value when it comes to gems. There is. One. No. Oh, it must be up there. I found a bunch of gems the other day, but they're not. They're not very good, and they're not very. I don't know, they're not very good. They're little fun shiny rocks that I like to store and to break out every now and again when I have mates over. I'm like, look at my gems. How do I find the clay breaker? I don't have a clay breaker, man. Patrick, we are going to be selling gemstones, not the ones I was just talking about, crystals and a few other things. You'll see. It's a project that's coming. I can't talk about it at the moment until everything's in place. What time of year is best to go prospecting out in the creeks in Victoria? All year, man. All year. There is no such thing as poor weather, just poor choice in clothing. Are gems heavy like ironstone? Yeah, man. So a lot of gems. I've got a pay dirt bag from. Now you're testing me. I can't remember the company's name, but you will see a video on it coming up very soon. They sell a gem wash, just like a pay dirt bag. So it's like half a kilo worth of rock, and it's got 5 carats of sapphires and things like that in it. And you basically go through it almost identically to what you would with a pan. They weigh more than the average rock in your pan. They tend to sit on black sand. I was talking to a sapphire hunter who came down to Beechworth to do some prospecting for gold, and he was saying that what they do is, unlike us, where I go and dig for, I look for black sand, heavy concentrations of black sand, and then I look for where the gold would stop, which is either bedrock or a clay layer. And if I can find that, that's where I work. But he hunts the black sand itself, so when they dig down and hit heavy black sand, they know the gems are going to be sitting on and just in it, because that layer where the high concentrations of black sand are creates so much friction that the gems can't get through it. So they weigh more than the average rock, but not quite as much as things like tin and magnetite, and therefore you can hunt them just like gold. You just go change your setups a little bit. $2:36 a.m. That's commitment, man. One solar flare, back to hunting and gathering. That's exactly right, Lewis. That's exactly right. I'm not a survivalist or a prepper or anything like that. Nothing at all close to that. But I still prefer the practical side of things. The NFTs and this whole digital currency, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be the future for as long as it's around, right? Like Tamagotchis. They came in, they were popular, and they go. They'll be popular probably for a while. We're probably going to see huge shifts in how we trade, especially because social media hasn't really been around for that long. And that's had huge social implications already. And it's only, we're only going to start unraveling what that means for the human society over the next few years, over the next few decades. We're not going to know that just yet. But for me personally, all of that stuff isn't as important as being able to put food in your mouth. I'd much rather have the skills to be able to do that than worrying about making money. Money's practically worthless. Like, in Australia, we can't even wipe our butts with it because it's plastic. Like, it's not, there's no intrinsic value in it. Nah, Peter, I just get rid of the tin. I couldn't be bothered. If I were, man, I literally know where the Eldorado dredge dumped all of its tin. There's football fields of tin out there. I could just go and scrape it up if I wanted to, but I can't be bothered. Patrick, nah, man, not really. I don't. So a lot of people ask me about going out, and a lot of people ask me if I go out expecting to kick over the big one or find a huge alluvial gold deposit or something like that. I'm not driven by the gold. I'm driven by the hunt. I was already out in the bush looking for geocaches, and I was hunting, and I was camping, and I was hiking to take photos, and I was doing lots of stuff out in the bush before gold prospecting. Gold prospecting became something that was, first and foremost, it was exciting because at the time I didn't have anything, nothing at all, and being able to dig a little bit of money out of the creek was really good. And then as time went on and I started getting more financially stable and whatnot, it became less interesting for me to have the gold. That's why I'm comfortable selling it. I'm more than happy to sell my gold, because other than a few pieces that are attached to memories that I had a really good day, or my biggest bid, or my favorite bid, or whatever it might be, the driving force slowly shifted towards getting out on the creek and enjoying something very rare today, which is adventure. when you're digging gold out of the creek, you're the first person to see that. Um, you're the first person to hold that gold, most likely. You're the first person to enjoy it. Um, and that was what it's evolved into, the hunt for that. Once I get it out of the ground, it doesn't really mean much to me. It's not that important. I'd much rather be out there looking for that story. And that comes back to my filmmaking. I enjoy filmmaking probably more than I enjoy having the gold. It's hard to convey that to people as well. Like, absolutely, finding lots of gold is exciting. Finding big pieces of gold is exciting because you are aware that there's a value attached to that gold. But the story behind that, like, oh, I found this nugget and Gadsy was there and we were way up in the mountains in Nugget Gully and I flipped that big rock out of the way and it took me forever and it was really hot and you remember the mosquitoes and the flies. Like, that story to lead you to that little nugget is everything to me. The little nugget at the end is just the last little bit. I've actually got a video coming out on this exact subject. As you might have noticed, my shift in filmmaking techniques has changed. I wouldn't say no, though, to kicking over a big nugget. Obviously, that would be super sweet. not having to worry about, paying your mortgage off anymore. Yeah, so Patrick, that is a beautiful question. With all the flower gold you find, why is it not taken by the old timers? Yeah, it's partly weather, it's partly equipment, and technology. They're two different things completely. It's knowledge and it's also value. They didn't have the ability to catch the superfine gold efficiently. They definitely did catch fine gold, but just not as efficiently as what we can today. As I said at the start of this Q&A session, you can pretty much take whatever equipment you want out to the creek at this point, and you will get really good results with fine gold. But back then they were using wooden boxes and Hessian sacks and all sorts of stuff like that. So they didn't have that ability to catch that fine gold. The other part's technology, so their equipment was pretty rudimentary. Even our pans today are more technologically advanced, which again allows for easier retention of gold, faster processing, blah, blah, blah. Then we have things like the advent of pumps. So we have the ability to take a water pump to the creek and pump water 150 meters up the hill. They didn't have that. They had to dig a ditch from somewhere way upstream for a dam to wait for the weather to rain into that dam and then run the water down their ditch onto their gold fields. And that means that a lot of processing was seasonal or extremely limited in some areas. Like Nugget Gully, there's a lot of hard rock, but there's almost no alluvial workings there, and the ground below Nugget Gully is reported to be the richest ground in Victoria for alluvial wash. 4 ounces per metre average. It went up to 11 in some of their richest spots, and that's in alluvial wash, so not hard rock. But they couldn't get it because no water pumps, no nothing, and now all the land's protected under different acts, so no one can get it. So there's all that. There's a heap to why I find flower gold. The other thing is the value of it. We talked about this, the money thing. It's worth $2,500 now per ounce. So if I get a gram, I get $80. Back then, it was only worth £4.50. So if they're not going to work their asses off for, they're not going to work their asses off for a gram or two when they've got virgin gold fields 200 meters downstream where they can pull out an ounce a pan or half an ounce a pan. So that's why we're getting a lot of gold. And we're just going over now with the dry blower into areas where they didn't have water, adequate water. So they worked it down to bedrock where they could. If they hit clay, they couldn't go any further. And that's what we're cleaning up at the moment. Man, we're gonna have to. I was doing speed reading, guys. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So Graham McKenzie asked, do you know much about the sinkholes near the large sluice dam on Reedy? Yeah, they're dredge holes, bro. They're dredge holes. Or they will be loaming pits, one of the two. So if they're big and you can fit a dredge in it, they're dredge holes. If they're just little sinkholes, they're probably loaming shafts. What the old timers did was dropped loaming shafts ahead of their workings. That way they can follow the lead and not work worthless dirt. You'll often see them right on the edge of workings. They'll drop them maybe 5 or 10 meters ahead, and they would have gone all the way down to bedrock or the clay layer that they were working, and they would be able to then pull loam out of the bottom, test it and see if there was still gold in it, and if there wasn't gold, they could just ignore that area and not waste their time with it. So we look for those quite often, because today, again, they can be quite rich in those areas. We would all like to see a Gadsy and Chris show. Yeah, Gadsy, you have to come over, man. Gadsy will have to come over and we can do a live Dancing with the Stars show. Weekend Warrior, you have to explain that a little bit more. Have you been back to the creek? The split left and right. You did a video of drawing deposits and a page streak. I don't remember the video, man. Bobby, we are wearing respirators now. Yeah, the first time we were kind of excited and we got out there and we didn't have respirators. Now we're all wearing P2 respirators with the dry blow, because it's bad for your lungs. So yeah, we are definitely doing it. Claren in Victoria, so the mines department, I get so much shit over this. Online, people say that like I'm breaking the law, and I'm not. I know I'm not. The mines department says that you're allowed to prospect in the streams, banks, and reserves of designated prospecting areas. That means you can dig in the banks, because you're allowed to prospect in the streams, banks, and reserves. And if I'm using legal equipment like a high banker, therefore I can prospect or dig on the bank. So in Victoria you can, most places you can't. Victoria, we are very lucky with it. Patrick, I love that question. How did you stumble across the hard compacted stuff to find it contained gold? Walking. We just went for a walk one day. We decided that we wanted to check out a certain area because we were finding good gold in the creek. We got up on the bank, went through the workings. That's how you find your spots. You got to go looking. You can't just sit at home and expect to find them on your computer. You just go out to the field and walk around and have a look. And we found these interesting shafts, and I couldn't work out why there were shafts there, because it looked like the shafts were in bedrock. And that didn't make any sense, because I knew there was no hard rock mines in that area. So either we'd found hard rock mines that were not marked on any map or not talked about in any reports, which seemed unlikely for the area, or we'd found something unusual. And had more of a walk while I was test panning. The holes themselves, shafts, were full of water, so we were able to test pan, and we were finding gold in the loam that they'd brought up from the bottom. They'd thrown it onto the edge of their shaft. Tested it, finding gold. Gadsy went for a walk, came back, goes, "You got to come see this." And that's how we found those drift mines with the conglomerate. And that's the key, is walking around, having an actual look. Rookie gold prospector, they're going. I hate those things. Alright. I might leave it there, guys. We're an hour deep into this, and I think it's probably time for me to go to bed, because, sleep's good. Watch a bit of TV and do all that sort of stuff. But anyway, I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you learned something. I hope I had an opportunity to answer some of your questions. I know that there are heaps of comments that go unanswered, heaps of private messages that go unanswered, and this just gives us a really good opportunity to address some of them in person, much more detailed answers than I would be able to through text. And I'm looking forward to bringing you more miller table videos, more dry washing videos, sluicing, and all of that sort of stuff. And I appreciate all the support that you guys have given my channel over the years, just not including all the comments, but all the shares and likes and just the general stuff that people have done for this channel has been outstanding. So again, thank you so much for being part of Vo-Gus Prospecting. It means the absolute world to me. On that note, I'm going to hit the goodbye button. Thank you, and I will see you either next live stream or next video. And if it's the next live stream, we'll have prize packs. I'll leave you that tantalizing little tidbit. Bye. Jack, no, Coke.